Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be installing my underground sprinkler controller. I'm also going to be making it smart by leveraging a smart controller like the Rachio. It's a way to kind of make it automated. But this is a brand new first time setup, so we're going to be doing everything from scratch. This is my first time doing one of this, and I've done extensive research, and this process is supposed to be very simple and straightforward. In fact, the most difficult part of this entire setup is actually digging up the soil to actually lay the ground. I'm going to be using this guy. It's called a poly. This is 100 foot. So this is essentially what I'm going to use to run all the waters to all the sprinkler heads. So I'm going to run this throughout my lawn. I got two of them, so each 100 feet, and for a combined 200 feet. I'm also going to be using this system. It's kind of a quick connect kind of system. It uses this kind of locking pin, so it's basically a tool-less system. Each of these kind of connectors, right, they just kind of snap in place into this guy. You cut it to whatever length you want, plug it in there, snap it on, and then I can use it to form various kind of connections. You can have like a T connections like this, or you can have elbow connectors such as this as well. It's basically very DIY friendly solution, right? It's kind of comes as a set, so you can snap it in there and you're good to go. The other thing I'm going to be using is this guy. This is the valve box. I've gone with a 12-inch valve box. Now this is where all of my controllers, so my manifold, all the connections, they're all going to happen inside of this. So this entire thing is going to go right into the ground, and then only this top part should be accessible. For the manifold, I'm going to be using this one from Orbit. Now, as you can see right from the image here, there are 3 heads, 1, 2, 3. So that essentially means that I can have 3 different zones. If you want more zones, you can get like a 4. You can also kind of get an extension piece to this piece as well to kind of, if you want to increase it and add more zones to it. But obviously more zones means more materials, because every single zone is going to need its own dedicated poly pipes and lines run straight from the box all the way down to that sprinkler head. So I'm going to minimize the amount of zones I'm going to be using. I'm going to just stick with 3, 2 in the front, 1 on the back. So which means for every zone, I can basically connect multiple heads to that one zone. So which means I need less pipes overall.
Since it was my first time doing this, I brought in my friend Solomon, who had already installed his own, to help guide the process. The overall process was pretty straightforward, with the hardest part being digging the trenches for the pipes. But before that, I mapped out where the grass would grow and marked all the spots I wanted all the sprinkler heads to go. Ideally, you want sprinkler heads in every corner, so opposite heads spray towards each other for full coverage. We ended up going with 3 pop-up heads in the back, 3 in the front, and 3 fixed spray heads in the middle section of the lawn, making for a total of 3 zones and 9 sprinkler heads. Next, we picked the location for the valve box. Now, this is where the manifold lives. It is the unit that controls each zone. It needs to be easily accessible at any point in time. We dug a hole big enough to fit the 12-inch box so that only the top arch is visible once everything is all leveled out. For the manifold, we used a pre-built Orbit 3-zone valve system that required no assembly. All we had to do was to pop out 4 knockouts from the valve box to route in the pipes, and connected them to the manifold using barb fittings and hose clamps to secure everything. We had pre-cut each pipe's runs for the farthest sprinkler head in that zone, but you can always extend them later with the connector if needed. Then we planned the route we wanted the pipes to take from the source to the destination. This part can mean the difference between using a lot of materials and using fewer materials. But it's also important to consider protection from future damage due to someone digging the soil. I decided to route my piping as close to the sidewalk, and in some cases under the sidewalk as possible. Now this offers protection from future digging, and I can also easily remember exactly where the pipes routed through. Then came the most difficult part, digging the trenches. We dug them to at least 6 inches deep, laid down 3/4 inch poly pipes, and used quick connect elbows and tees to route it across the lawn. Heads within the same zone can be connected in a chain, but heads in different zones need their own dedicated line back to the valve box. The more zone you have, the more materials and cost. You'll need a manifold that supports more zones, a controller that can manage them, and extra piping to run back to the box. I stuck with the 2-zone in the front because I already had a 3-zone manifold and the zone was pretty much close to the valve box, so I could use up all the leftover materials. Another reason I decided to go with 2-zone in the front lawn is because one part of it gets a lot of sun while the other part doesn't, so they both have different water requirements. Next, we installed the sprinkler heads. We used pop-up gear drive heads for the front and back, and smaller fixed spray heads for the center section. We made sure each head sat slightly below the soil surface to avoid being clipped by the lawnmower when the sod eventually gets laid down. The head pops up automatically when activated due to the pressure from the water. You can get pop-up sprayer heads of different heights, spray distances and radius for different needs. For example, if you have a garden bed, then you could go with a taller spray head on a different zone just for those. Then it was time to connect the water supply. I'd already pre-installed a dedicated sprinkler line that comes straight from my main water supply and off to the side of the house. It was just capped off, and all we needed to do was take off the cap and then added an hose babe on the exterior wall for sprinkler winter blowout. Then we connected the pipe from the manifold inlet to the hose babe using the barb fitting and hose clamp. With all plumbing done, it was time to wire up the controller, and this part was surprisingly simple. A low voltage wire runs from the smart controller, which can be installed either indoors or outdoors. In my case, I installed mine in the house. The wire connects to the valve box and provides both power and control for the sprinkler zones. I had a 9-strand sprinkler wire already pre-wired, enough to support 8 zones plus a common wire, but it wasn't quite long enough to reach the valve box, so I extended it using additional wiring to complete the connection. To connect both wires, we each shrunk only the strands we needed, 3 zone wires and 1 common. In the valve box, we bundled all the common wires from each of the valve and tied them to the common strand. Then we assigned the different colored strands to each zone. Back inside, we mounted the Rachio controller in my utility room. I removed my old controller from my old house and reused it right here. The Rachio system worked flawlessly in the past, so I was happy to reuse it. I connected the common wire and the zone wire to terminal 1, 2 and 3 on the Rachio using the push to connect clips. The Rachio app walked me through the setup, letting me input grass types, sunlight levels and soil type. These settings can be tweaked later, so you don't have to finish everything during installation. Once the system was set up, I turned on the water to test it, and it was amazing. All that was left was to fine-tune the heads. You can adjust spray distance, arc, and for rotary heads, the start and stop position. I'll do finer tweaks after the sod goes in. The best part is smart control.
Hey Siri, turn on backyard sprinkler.
I can control each zone from my phone with voice commands or on a schedule. It can skip watering if rain is expected, or I can even add a moisture sensor to water only when needed. There's still more to do, but this is a huge step. I'm super excited to finish the rest of the yard, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned.